Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Marco Geray Show. It is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in to today's show to hear all the relevant, groundbreaking news here in America and around the world, the only show where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Please don't forget to hit that like button, follow the show, share with as many people as possible so they can also hear the truth. Let's get ready now for the best hour radio has to offer. Uncensored and ready to go. Let's jump right into the first topic of hand. And that, of course, is this Israeli Gaza 21-point peace plan that's being taken place right now. We heard from President Trump yesterday evening, given some information from Marco Rubio, that the peace plan was moving forward, and it seems like things are going to be progressing very, very soon. So possibly even President Trump will make his way to the Middle East as early as this weekend. Good news on that front. Unfortunately, I have some negative news to report to you first. This just came out from the Times of Israel this morning, about 5 hours ago. And it says here that the IDF seen firing on Palestinians trying to head back to Gaza City. So I from what I understood, was the ceasefire was supposed to take place. There's initial phases that are supposed to occur, obviously. The Palestinian media, though, is reporting that the IDF has deployed tanks to the Rashid Coastal Road to prevent Palestinians from returning to Gaza City in the Strip's north, with a ceasefire yet to take place. So why are they firing on Palestinians? I don't understand this. If the peace proposal, the initiative to get the hostages home, is obviously in their purview, obviously in their best interest, why are they firing on Palestinians for simply walking to Gaza City? I don't understand it. Now, the IDF apparently warned Palestinians that returning to Gaza City is extremely dangerous at this point. Again, despite this Israel-Hamas coalition reaching a deal for troops to pull out of Gazan cities and, of course, for the fighting to halt. The IDF, though, is preparing to pull back forces in Gaza once the ceasefire takes effect, likely this evening after the government officially ratifies this agreement. So something not positive. I doubt this will make Hamas very happy about this, and obviously keeping these Arab Gulf states very at unease with this. Why are they firing on these people? For walking from one place to another? I don't understand this. Using tank shells to fire at these people. Folks, you're seeing right now, obviously, Israelis, Palestinians alike in Gaza, coming together. They're cheering. They're happy about this ceasefire. They want this to end. Both sides, by the way. And obviously the families of the hostages held on both sides are very happy about this. They want these people released and obviously to come back to their families. This is important. And it's been a long time. So we can obviously come together and say, yes, we're stepping in the right direction on this, but is this deal going to hold? That's my biggest question for you today. Is this deal going to hold? And I got to tell you, I have no idea if it's going to hold. Israel so far has yet to honor any type of ceasefire, any permanent type of peace plan with any of these countries. So why do I think this is going to be any different right now? I really don't. Now, the Wall Street Journal has these provisions, these conditions that are being talked about as the first phase of the peace plan. And, of course, 5 things we need to know about this Gaza deal. So what are they? Well, number 1, all living hostages held by Hamas are to be released. There are some 48 hostages right now, 20 of whom are believed to be living. And President Trump has said in an interview on Fox News on Wednesday evening that the hostages will probably be released on Monday. Again, I don't know why this has to take so long. Let's get it rolling. Let's get them back right now. It shouldn't be that difficult. Let's get these people back to their families. That's what everyone has wanted. Now, the bodies of the hostages who have died are to be handed over later. Hamas has said that it would need at least 10 days to locate the bodies of the dead hostages, according to the people close to these talks. So we'll see if that happens. Israel will release Palestinian prisoners. Now, most of you have no idea, unless, of course, you've been listening to my show, that Israel has taken people without any type of charge, against their will, after October 7th, 2023 occurred. So now, apparently, once all the Israeli hostages are returned, Israel is then expected to release 250 Palestinians who are in Israeli prisons and 1,700 Palestinians who have been detained in Gaza during the conflict. So they've taken 1,700 people who have nothing to do with what happened, without any type of charge, and they've held them hostage. Why haven't we heard anything about this in the mainstream media? Now, I've been told by my sources there's been up to 12,000 people held without any type of charge against them for any type of wrongdoing. So I don't know, are there more people? Do they only agree to 1,700? Are they only going to release 250 real prisoners? That has yet to be seen. I don't know. I'm sure they're going to be making a list of people they want returned to them. Obviously, probably some of these people have been charged with crimes. If they're releasing prisoners, I would imagine, I would hope so. But now Hamas, I think, is going to be pushing to get some of these bigger name prisoners that have been obviously incarcerated. One including Marwan Barghouti, who Israel jailed over his role in the Palestinian uprisings in the early 2000s. He's a pretty pivotal figure to the Palestinians. And he's kind of seen as this leader, this person who's leading this movement to achieve Palestinian autonomy, statehood, obviously their own leadership. And obviously, I think Hamas is going to want to push for him to kind of be this person that kind of leads the nation, or I guess the people, I should say, moving forward. So it'll be interesting to see whom they release and what people they want released. And we'll see if that happens as well. Again, right now, everything's up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen. This all could fall apart by the end of the day, for all I know. Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, will withdraw from 70% of the enclave. It says here that the deal includes a map of the withdrawal lines, but without any exact locations or coordinates. So how are we supposed to know where they're supposed to go? All Israel has to do is say, well, we never made a line. I can be here. We just said we'd withdraw from this area of Gaza City. I mean, they could say that. Apparently, allegedly, the final lines to which the Israeli military will withdraw might still be under discussion. So who knows what will actually happen there. Israel at one point in this conflict said, all of Gaza will become Jewish, with the understanding, of course, that they're going to be annexing the Gaza Strip. With no Palestinians in it, by the way. That's what I understood from it, at least. And that's what they've been very bold about saying. So do I think that Israel is going to actually leave Gaza? I can't see that happening. I can't see them agreeing to that they would have zero presence in the future of Gaza. That's just my position. I could be wrong. I don't know. Nobody really knows. But they've never, again, honored any type of ceasefire. They've always been present in this region. So we'll see how this all plays out. The Rafah crossing with Egypt will open up. So this is a corridor in the southern portion of the Gaza Strip. And it says here that the crossing will open up after the ceasefire comes into effect to facilitate aid deliveries and for allow any type of entry and exit of Palestinians. Okay, so if any Palestinians want to leave, they have an option to enter or to leave the area. All right, so let's talk about what's happening right now, though. What is really important about all this? And one of the biggest factors about all this is this entire peace plan. We need to understand what's going on here. What are these 21 points? And it's important to know what they are so we can break them down. And I'm going to kind of go through some of them and kind of expound on them and try to get you the right information on this. So we're kind of seeing eye to eye on all this. So one of the first things, number one, and again, I just want to highlight the certain points to you. Some points are vague, so we're not really even sure about what's really going on in some of these. They're very vague. It looks like it was written up really, really quickly. And again, we'll see exactly what happens here. I don't know how this is going to turn out. So who knows if the agreement on this entire peace plan will be as presented. Part of me thinks that these final stages of the negotiations will occur with President Trump, of course, when he should arrive. And I think Hamas is going to have a lot more demands and checks for Israel. And of course, various positions on this are going to be changing. I think that's just a reasonable thing. So, let me get right into it with you. This is, again, I wanted to go over this because it's extraordinarily important. And here we go. All right, so, number one, they want a de-radicalization of the Gaza Strip. That's one thing that's obviously going to be seen as important to them. But what does that actually mean? What does that mean? We don't really know what that means. You know, we could say things like, oh, okay, we're going to have a demilitarization, we're going to have a de-radicalization. What does that mean exactly? It'll be a terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors. Does that mean no weapons? Does that mean no military? Does that mean what does that mean exactly? We should know exactly what this means. And again, does that mean just simply Hamas will not exist as a faction, as a paramilitary group? Something tells me they aren't just going to hand over their weapons just because of what we keep continuing to see here. Again, I think it's also interesting, too, that Hamas is clearly coordinated with various Gulf Arab states, receiving money and arms, yet it's nowhere in this peace plan. They haven't negotiated anything. They've accepted certain terms, obviously, but they're not involved in this yet. So, again, we have to see if any of these things change. Are there going to be provisions where the Gaza Strip doesn't take any money from any of these Gulf Arab states that have helped aid and fund Hamas? That's not in this bill either. So again, I think things will become more definite as this goes on. Moreover, there is nothing on Israel's side not to enter Gaza, not to commit any type of heinous acts like what we have seen since October 7th has occurred. And those of us who have been following, the real independent research, what we've seen in this footage, the blockage of food, water, supplies, electricity, medical gear, and other such things into the region, you have 500,000 people that are missing from Gaza than before in October of 2023. Now, we've confirmed that just over 100,000 people, have been killed. Obviously, the entire infrastructure is demolished. But what did you say? Where both sides walk away from it? There's no accountability to what has happened, that this entire strip is in ruins right now? It's a little bit odd to me. Number two, Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of its people. Okay, that sounds good. So this just relates to what I've been saying, though, but Gaza is in complete ruins right now. So who is going to take on the responsibility of redeveloping Gaza? Their banks have been destroyed. Everything has been pretty much destroyed. And with that, who can claim they own the land, or who owns the land? Right? If the banks have been destroyed, if the government buildings have been destroyed, if all this paperwork and obviously documentation has been likely destroyed as well, who can claim they own land? Will it simply be investment bankers coming in like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard? Buy up all this land with the help of Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and turn it into this Middle Eastern Riviera that it was once touted? Oh, by the way, nothing about the West Bank either. So we still have no idea if the West Bank is involved in any of this. President Trump unequivocally said that he would not allow Israel to annex the West Bank, yet there's nothing in it about this peace plan. So does it just refer to the Gaza Strip? Is what it seems like to me, but why is the West Bank not involved in this as well? That's my big question with that. Number three, if Israel and Hamas agree to this proposal, the war will end immediately, with the IDF halting all operations and gradually withdrawing from the Strip. Okay. Within 48 hours of Israel publicly accepting the deal, all living and deceased hostages will be returned. We're already in talks about that. That's part of their first phase. Number five, once the hostages are returned, Israel will free several hundred Palestinian security prisoners. serving life sentences, and over 1,000 Gazans arrested since the start of the war, along with the bodies of several hundred Palestinians. Interesting to me. So are they holding living and dead hostages as well? Again, Hamas has been told to release the remaining living as well as the deceased hostages within 48 hours of this agreement. Yet we are hearing that, and again, I've told you this before, Israel is holding Palestinian hostages, prisoners, held without any type of charge. Some 12,000 of them. And again, if we're making amends, why does only one side have to get all of their prisoners, all their hostages released, and the other side does not? And again, sadly, this just simply confirms I was correct, since it's now in writing that they're going to be releasing hostages to living and dead that are Palestinian. So I hate to be the one that says I told you so, but obviously both sides were holding hostages. Not a good thing, of course. All right. Once the hostages are returned, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence will be granted amnesty, while members who wish to leave the Strip will be granted safe passage to receiving countries. Once this agreement is reached, number 7, aid will surge into the Strip at rates no lower than the benchmark set in January of 2025 hostage deal, which included 600 trucks of aid per day, along with rehabilitation of critical infrastructure and the entry of equipment for removing rubble. So this is part of the redevelopment, of course, and returning aid. Now, here's the thing I find a bit odd here. I thought Israel never denied aid or any type of food or water into Gaza. Right? Netanyahu was coming on the television saying it was a bold-faced lie. It's not true. We're allowing everyone to bring aid in. Nobody's starving. In fact, at one point, they said that people were so fat that they needed medical plans that included Ozempic. So obviously, the Israeli government were brazen and even admitted to this. Right? We even heard, I think it was either Ben-Gvir or Smotrich, I forget which one it was, saying, yeah, we've denied for the last 3 months any type of aid to go into Gaza. Yeah, we kept hearing from our wonderful influencers and, of course, the mainstream media. Oh, no, everything, no. No one's denying aid. Come on. No one would do that. Yeah, that's obviously happening. So, again, I just find it interesting now they're really admitting to this. And, again, they're admitting, obviously, that they've denied food in this region. Why is there a condition, though? If it wasn't happening, why would they have a condition of this? That aid flow will resume back to the previous agreed-upon benchmarks. So this is just further proof this is an intentional starvation campaign to what was happening, despite the, again, right-wingers standing in front of food pallets in the middle of the desert saying, oh, look at all this food here. Everyone's getting food. No, they weren't getting the food. And I told you before, the food that was getting in largely was getting stolen by this, I think he was a Al-Qaeda member. His name was Yusuf al-Shabaab, was actually stealing the food. It wasn't Hamas. It was this guy stealing the food and then putting it on the black market. He's kind of like this gangster / Al-Qaeda member in Palestine, in the Gaza Strip, who was selling drugs too, by the way. This is the guy that was getting a hold of the food that was actually coming in. And also, why are they giving back the reins to the UN now instead of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, ran by Israel and the United States? I thought the UN was, the ones who were inefficient at doing this, and then the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation had to come and do this. Why all of a sudden now they're transferring over the reins? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? All right, number 8. Aid will be distributed without interference from either side by the United Nations and the Red Crescent, along with other international organizations not associated with Israel or Hamas. All right. Gaza will be administered by a temporary transitional government of Palestinian technocrats who will be responsible for providing day-to-day services for the people of the Strip. So this is what I got to talk about a little bit. I love the word transitional. How long will this transitional government be in the region? Where will this territory even exist? as Israel has no real definite borders. Did you know that? Yeah, Israel doesn't have any definite borders, folks. So does it include also the West Bank? Is it just the Gaza Strip? Is it the strip of the Gaza Strip where Israel will not have its presence and the 70% withdrawal factor they're supposed to be agreeing to? Why is Tony Blair going to be leading this, by the way? They want Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of the UK, to be leading this in some bizarre post-colonial faction of the UK and the Middle East. I don't understand that. Then they say technocrats. So, for me, I think get ready for, a modern-day police state with facial ID cameras all over Gaza, probably run by people like Larry Ellison, people of that nature, Alex Karp and company. Get ready for that to happen. So, in other words, a complete control by these people. Again, just look at what's happening in the UK right now with the digital ID. It will be present in the Gaza Strip 100%. That's why they want him in there. So it'll be like, you want to work? Screw you, get a digital ID. You want to rent a home or apartment? Screw you, get a digital ID. Want access to buying food and water? Screw you, get a digital ID. Oh, you had a bad month with your business startup that we allowed you to have. You want to take out a loan? Screw you, get a digital ID, peasant. That's what it'll come down to be. And that's all she wrote there. Can't you see how the Palestinians have been waiting for the West to arrive here? I just can't wait until they, introduce, drag queen story hours in their schools now, funded, of course, by the United States. That'll be a provision, I'm sure, at some point once the Democrats get back into power. All right, number 10, an economic plan will be created to rebuild Gaza through convening of experts, to say who those experts are, with experience in constructing modern Middle Eastern cities and through the consideration of existing plans aimed at attracting investments and creating jobs. Okay. So now the Palestinian people have the situation that they're in where they're going to have their economic plan, I guess, created for them. Provision 11 says an economic zone will be established with reduced tariffs and access rates to be negotiated by participating countries. Okay, so again, you have the idea that the Palestinians have to have tariffs or have no control over this economic zone. Again, I don't understand this. Who is controlling this? Will they have available ports to them? And I said it to you before, whoever controls or claims this land will be the biggest winners of this yet. It'll be a multi-billion-dollar getaway. Now, if they are allowed autonomy, they should be able the ones to control what type of economy have in their land. That's the way I see it. Number 12, no one will be forced to leave Gaza, but those who choose to leave will be allowed to return. Okay, so at one point we were told there'll be no Palestinians in Gaza. Now we're told if you leave, you can come back. Something tells me that's not going to happen. I think if you leave, I think there's no chance you come back. That's just the way I see it because of what we're told. I don't have anything else to say on that. I just think if more people leave, they will continue to take more land. And that's the way it'll be. All right. 13, Hamas will have no role in Gaza's governance whatsoever. We've expected that. Again, I doubt very much Israel will willingly leave Gaza. President Trump said on Truth Social yesterday evening that Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line. What is Prime Minister Netanyahu going to tell the Zionists who want greater Israel and the entire Gaza Strip to be Jewish? What is he going to tell them? Hey, the plan's over with? Nothing more to see here? It's over? Yet I don't know how this plays out with the Israeli existing government. I really don't know how this is going to turn out. But I doubt very much they are going to willingly leave, or at least not have some position in this region. A security guarantee will be provided by regional partners to ensure that Hamas and other Gaza factions comply with their obligations that Gaza ceases to pose a threat to Israel or its own people. Why not have it in the reverse? Neither side will have any type of terror threats. To agree to a security guarantee for national security for both regions. Because it doesn't say anything on the other side for that, by the way, just so everyone's aware of that. All right, 15. The United States will work with Arab and other international partners to develop a temporary international stabilization force that will immediately deploy in Gaza to oversee security in the Strip. So that's, again, the Board of Peace that they've been talking about. President Trump, Tony Blair is going to sit on this board. Other people involved in this as well will be the people kind of dictating and overseeing. Apparently, Palestinians will sit on the board as well. We'll see how much autonomy they actually have. 16, Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. That's a big one. And the IDF will gradually hand over territory it currently occupies as the replacement security forces establish control and stability in the Strip. So this is a big one. And again, I told you before, I don't think that Israel is going to be leaving the Gaza Strip. I just can't see that happening. They've invested too much into this. They're too far into it. So I don't know how this plays out for the Israeli government. I really don't. And especially once, again, the war stops, the ceasefire occurs, and you have people going in with cameras and seeing, going through the rubble, finding more dead bodies. I told you before, there was 2.4 million Palestinians before October 7th, 2023. Now there's an estimated 1.9 million. They've said there's 100,000 dead, mostly innocent people, men, women, and children, who have nothing to do with what happened on October 7th. What are they going to do? That's what I want to know. What are they going to do? When people come in, they see this. Who knows exactly what will happen as a result of this. Israel agrees not to carry out future strikes on Qatar. The international community acknowledges Doha's importance to mediating role in the Gaza conflict. All right. A process will be established to de-radicalize the population. I don't know what this means. I got to be honest with you. What does that mean, de-radicalize the population? What population? This will include an interfaith dialogue aimed at changing mindsets and narratives in Israel and Gaza. Again, I don't know what de-radicalize means. Does it change the thinking about each other? Who does this? Whose idea is this? Who's going to implement this? How much is this going to cost? I mean, come on. When Gaza's... Let me see here. Where am I? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is what I want to go over to. When Gaza's redevelopment has been advanced, the Palestinian Authority Reform Program has been implemented, the conditions may be in place for a credible pathway to a Palestinian statehood. This one's big, which is recognized as the aspiration of the Palestinian people. Yeah, this one's a big one. So now Netanyahu has boldly said, after he agreed in Washington last week, he said he will never, he went back to Israel, said it in Hebrew, but it was obviously translated, said he will never allow the statehood of the Palestinian people. He said he never signed on to any agreement right after he met with President Trump. I've said this before, I'll say it again. 100 different UN signatory nations have consistently voted in favor of a Palestinian state. It's always been the United States, along with Israel, and it's the United States who has the veto power to stop it. But both nations have constantly voted against the creation of a Palestinian state in the region. And again, why not acknowledge the state of Palestine with set borders at the UN and vote for it? Nothing is stopping President Trump from doing this except perhaps Netanyahu. And by the way, will Netanyahu be the one who finally gives way for a Palestinian state? His Likud party, by the way, understand this, the Likud party, which he's the head of, has it in their charter. We always hear about Hamas's charter, right? They want to kill every Jew and everything like that. And there is some truth to that in their charter as well. It's been altered over the years, but in their early charter, it did say using violence against Israelis was acceptable in different circumstances. But here is their charter, and it says that a Palestinian state will never exist. And I just want to say this to you as well. We're constantly lied to by the mainstream media that the Palestinians routinely reject the state of Israel. And Netanyahu just said this in an interview, by the way. Again, despite both the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the Palestinian Authority acknowledging the state of Israel, and even Hamas acknowledging a truce or a hudna with Israel. But he just came out and said this, Netanyahu. I mean, it becomes ridiculous, but again, these are the things that he says, and then people buy it because they don't question anything. Take a listen.
If you want a real path to peace, then the Palestinians have to come finally to recognize and accept the existence of a Jewish state in their midst. And that hasn't happened. That's why we don't have peace here, because they refuse to, they don't want a state next to Israel. They want a state instead of Israel. And once any territory they get, they use to attack us again and again. If we don't change that, then, then this conflict will continue. If we do, we are able, with the plan that we have for the day after Hamas in Gaza, if we are able to change that, that goes a long way to securing a long...
Okay, so you heard exactly what he's saying. He's talking about, obviously, national security here, but he's rejecting the idea of a Palestinian state. That's what it comes down to. That's what it's all about. All right, last one. It says the United States, bullet point 21, the U.S. will establish a dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians to agree on a political horizon for peaceful coexistence. That's what's being touted about right now. All right, so what exactly does this all come to? What does it mean? Will it simply mean that this will all work out? I don't really know. I gotta be honest with you, I don't really know. So we still haven't seen Hamas being involved in these negotiations. I can't imagine Hamas will be giving up their arms. Well, they may lose their title. I doubt very much they want to be ruled over by a foreign government. Again, with no way to really defend themselves now, should they put down all their weapons. Israel, even after its agreement to uphold this peace plan, is continuing to bomb Gaza City still, as I read to you earlier in the Times of Israel. Will both sides agree to each of the 21 points? That is yet to be seen. But war is hell, folks. I got to tell you, war is hell. And a lot of the suffering, a lot of the death has occurred. And I'm sure they all want to get this conflict over with. They want to move on, both Palestinians and Israelis too. Netanyahu seems visibly nervous to me about what is happening. Because once there is no more war, understand this, he has to face corruption charges in his own country. Things like that of Qatargate, where he took money from Qatar that was also going into Hamas. He also had his judicial reform case where he tried to limit the judiciary's influence and role over the Knesset, lawmakers, the public policy, where they tried making this appointment political now instead of from a professional or merit-based selection. So that way they can kind of usher in their own policies. There were protests over that in 2023 before October 7th that followed. So you had, again, since this whole conflict, you've had the war with Iran. You had a third of Tel Aviv hit by Iranian missiles. Two of their three main ports, their only ports, by the way, were null and void afterwards. You had the Ben Gurion International Airport also hit. You had the economy of Israel also in decline. Tourism right now is obviously completely limited. You have businesses going abroad, as well as some 80,000 small businesses going bankrupt. And he might be taking a page out of the Gavin Newsom playbook on how to ruin an economy, folks. I don't know. That's exactly what it seems like to me, though. So while I want peace to happen, I want this bloodshed to stop. I want the innocent people that are hostages on both sides to be returned to their families and loved ones. We want to stop to this war, folks. That's what I always tell you about. We want to stop to this conflict. We want to stop to this war. And as long as this continues on, though, again, I don't know that I can honestly tell you that I believe a ceasefire is going to stand, because we've never seen it before. We've never seen this happen at any time before. So I don't know that this happens. I want it to happen, but I doubt very much that it will. All right, moving on. Let's move on to this. Since we're talking about what's happening in the foreign theater. Let's go on to this article I have from the BBC here. It says Colombia's president says boat struck by U.S. was carrying Colombians. Okay. So we're talking about this, obviously, this drug trade that they're talking about, and we've obviously been bombing ships in these regions. But Colombian President Gustavo Petro has said that a boat recently bombed by the United States was Colombian with Colombian citizens inside of it. An allegation the White House is called baseless. The U.S. has struck at least 4 vessels in the Caribbean in the recent weeks, killing 21 people. The U.S. said that the strikes in the international waters were targeting narco-traffickers. You know, I've said this to you before, though, without any type of assurance that the people on the boats are actually carrying drugs, we have no idea exactly if it's true or not. Now, the right thing would obviously be to detain the boat, to arrest everyone on the boat, to search the boat if they find drugs, to hold those people accountable. But we're simply just blowing up boats saying, you know what, that's a narco-terrorist boat. They're trying to traffic in drugs to the United States, like cocaine or what have you. But where is our semblance of, again, international law, due process? You know, I don't want drugs in the United States any more than anyone else listening does. But we have not provided the evidence or any type of details who or what is on aboard. And, of course, the strikes have been, attracted this condemnation of countries in the region amid these concerns of the breach of international law. We don't have a right to just go anywhere and blow up boats, do we? That's what I don't understand here. Why are we doing this? The right thing to do, again, by the way, these boats, they're small boats. They have no chance of probably even reaching the United States. We could easily subjugate the boats, arrest the people on it, if we think that there's intel suggesting that there's drugs on them. And then, therefore, we can confiscate the drugs, and we can arrest the people, charge them, prison them. That's what we should be doing. Now, the United States Senate rejected a measure on Wednesday that would have barred President Trump from using military force against the boats. Again, I don't know how we're able to do this, how we feel that we're in the right on this. That's the part about this I don't really understand. We don't have a right to just blow up things because we feel like it. I said this to you before. I think this is one of President Trump's, I guess I'd call it a low point. But we shouldn't be just bombing boats in the ocean because we are, trying to make a flex against Venezuela, which, to me, I think is the intended target here. Petro replied to a post on X by U.S. Senator Adam Schiff of California, a Democrat, who's completely useless, by the way, who said that he would vote to block strikes against the vessels in the Caribbean as some lawmakers sought to challenge the use of armed forces in Congress. The Colombian president then said that a new war scenario has opened up the Caribbean. Petro added that the indications show that the last boat bombed was Colombian with Colombian citizens simply inside of it. He says, I hope their families come forward and report it. There is no war against smuggling. There is a war for oil, and it must be stopped by the world. The aggression is against all of Latin America and the Caribbean. So while I obviously I disagree with smuggling drugs into any kind of country, of course, or breaching any type of border security. And again, by the way, our borders are extremely secure right now. We've had the lowest border crossings in something like 55 years. We had negative border crossing. That means no one was crossing our southern border illegally just recently. I mean, it's remarkable what President Trump has done to the southern border. So if we're securing our border, if we're controlling our seas, our ports, if we have vessels, obviously, monitoring any type of seafare, why are we so worried about a small fishing boat having access to our shores? That's the question I have for you. Why are we blowing these boats up? To me, it seems like it's a flex against Venezuela to see, obviously, show what we can do. But I disagree with this approach from the president, of course. I don't like this. I don't think it's legal. I think we're violating international law here. And again, this needs to stop, folks. This has to stop. We shouldn't be committing these types of acts, especially in international waters. All right, Just the News has an article as well. It says here that the authorities name a suspect in a deadly and devastating LA Palisades fire. Yep, I had to live through this, folks. And I talked about this to you just briefly yesterday about all this. But here it says, authorities on Wednesday named a suspect in connection to the deadly, devastating Palisades fire in Los Angeles County. And the suspect has been identified as Jonathan Rinderneck, 29, of Florida. So he's not even a Californian. He's from Florida. An FBI agent in L.A. has said that the blaze, the most destructive in Los Angeles history, was an incendiary fire, and the subject arrested started it. So authorities said that Rinderneck, an Uber driver, again, how's he over here if he's an Uber driver? I don't understand that. Would he have a fare that was 2,000 miles long? I don't understand this. But it says here that he was an Uber driver and was charged with the Palisades fire that was started on January 1st. They also said that evidence includes content on his phone of him returning to the fire after he set it to watch firefighters battle the blaze. This is how sick some of these people... By the way, this happens a lot of times, too, with serial killers and things like that. They go back to the areas, locations where they've committed these heinous acts to watch, to see how people respond and everything like that. Very, very sick and disgusting. The U.S. Attorney Bill Saley said that authorities also collected from Rinderneck's digital devices an image he generated on ChatGPT depicting a burning city. So he's probably a pyromaniac. He probably, obviously did this intentionally to watch a fire start. The blaze killed 12 people, destroyed over 6,000 homes and buildings inside the Palisades, Malibu communities. It was a rekindling fire that Rinderneck allegedly set on New Year's Eve near a popular hiking area, is what the federal investigators have said. So he's got to get the book thrown at him. This still doesn't justify, of course, the awful response by the local and state government, where there's no water in fire hydrants when the fighters try to use them. It was extraordinarily windy at that time, but the response was still very low. And again, I'm not blaming the firefighters for this. I'm blaming the elected officials on this. How the hell do you not have water in fire hydrants? How do you not have access to the type of retardants that are able to put out these fires? That, again, allow 6,000 homes to be burned? 12 people dead? And now, of course, you have Gavin Newsom, who is objecting to give firefighters the $250 million to give them raises, because he said it's not within their budget. No, but he's got the $282 million so he can spend on his redistricting efforts. That is likely going to fail if we have a free and fair election in California. So this, Rinderneck, or whatever the hell his name is, needs to have the book thrown at him indefinitely. This is awful that this took place. And it goes to show you it's not really climate change in these wildfires, folks. It's actually just insane lunatics who are starting the fires. California is obviously very dry. It's, a Mediterranean climate. We have very dry summers. And we didn't have any rain up until that point, I don't believe. So it was extraordinarily dry at that point. You start a fire, and over time it's going to burn and get out of control. This also happens too because Gavin Newsom refuses any type of efforts to clear dead brush, do forest sweeps where they're removing the dead brush, doing control burns. He's limited it so much. And again, these regions, especially like in Southern California, where we have these Santa Ana winds, it can cause these fires to spread even more. So awful that this is taking place. But I'm glad they caught the person that did this. You know what, too? I've told you this in the past, too. Gavin Newsom's actually selling off the land. It's some of these plots that haven't been rebuilt, and they're selling them to Chinese investors to the tune of $65 million worth of land. Isn't that nice? They put a bill in recently too that allows low income housing to be rebuilt in some of these areas devastated by these forest fires. Absolutely appalling to me. And yet he's going to spend $282 million on this redistricting effort. What a complete clown. Won't give firefighters raises. He'd rather piss that money away on this redistricting effort. It's absolutely disgusting. What a piece of garbage is an understatement, I think. All right, PJ Media. I like this article. It says here that Hakeem Jeffries, Hack Jeffries, that's what he is. He's a hack. Completely controlled by Nancy Pelosi. Has a complete meltdown on Capitol Hill over the shutdown. Yeah. And he got into it with Mike Lawler. It was actually extremely hilarious in the halls of the Capitol. And it was really funny because he has nothing to say. Because, again, he's an empty suit. You know, much like Gavin Newsom, JB Fat-Ass Pritzker, some of these other jerks, they're just empty shells. They're vessels. You know, they put on a good game, but they have nothing of any substance. Think about what I talked to you about Katie Porter yesterday, who we come to find is a complete lunatic, shouting down her staff, things of that nature, cursing at people when she gets upset. What, throwing mashed potatoes on her ex-husband's head? I mean, this is an unstable woman. And somehow she's the leading Democrat in this California gubernatorial race. I think you can do better, California. Just a hunch. But anyways, here was the exchange between the two yesterday. I'll play a little bit to you, and we'll break it down as this government shutdown continues to loom on. Again, by the Democrats.
Did you get permission from your boss?
Why don't we sign on right now?
Did your boss, Donald Trump?
You can easily extend
did your
the
boss,
ACA
did your
right
boss,
now.
Donald Trump,
He's
give
not
you
my
permission?
boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
So let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote to
Let me
shut
ask
the
you a
government
question.
down?
You
Why
know
did you
I-
vote to shut
Let
it
me
down?
ask you a question.
For years, you always lectured about how we need to keep the government open.
You're making a show of this to
No,
make
it's
yourself
sad.
relevant.
It's sad. You could
It's
easily
an
sign on to
You're
this.
embarrassing
You
yourself
could
right
sign
now.
on to this. The only
You're
embarrassment
chasing
here is
clout.
you.
You're an
You
embarrassment.
could sign on to the bill.
Let me ask you a question.
You have 4 Democrats on here.
Let me
Why
ask you a
won't you
question.
sign on
Let me ask
to
you a
it?
question.
It's a
Let
clean
me ask
extension
you a
for 1
question.
year.
You voted for the one big
Clean
ugly bill,
extension.
correct?
I voted for a
The
tax
largest-
cut bill that gave the largest tax cut
the
to
largest-
Americans in history,
the
including, by
largest-
the way, the average New Yorker getting a $4,000 tax cut. Are you against that?
You're embarrassing
Do you want
yourself
to
right
you want
now.
to cut the standard deduction in
The
half? Is that
largest
what you
cut
wanted
to
to do?
Medicaid in
No, we
American
rooted
history.
out
You voted
waste,
for that.
fraud, and abuse, by the
You
way.
voted
Tom DiNapoli, the
for a
Democratic
permanent-
controller of New
Let
York,
me ask you a question.
pointed out that $1.2
If
billion
you're gonna- if you're
were
gonna-
wasted.
Listen, you're not going to talk. You're not going to talk to me.
Wasted
You're not
on
going to talk to me
fraud
and talk
and
over
non-New
me.
York residents.
because-
So anyways, as they go on about Medicare and Medicaid, it's important to understand that Lawler is telling the truth here. And they were cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from people that did not qualify for the program. They weren't cutting it for everybody or cutting people's benefits. So it's important to understand that it's really what was happening there. And of course, the Democrats are furious about it because they want to give health care to illegal aliens that have no right to take your taxpayer money for anything. But it continued on. Let's listen. This is funny to me. Hakeem is trying to get the upper hand here. It's not working on him.
You don't want to hear what I have to say.
Oh, I'm
So
listening.
why
Go
don't you
ahead.
just keep your mouth shut?
Oh,
because you
is
showed
that-
up.
is that the way to
you
talk?
showed up. You showed up.
Yeah.
And so you voted for this one
I
big
signed
ugly
on
bill.
for this. You can extend it
A
right now.
permanent extension of massive tax breaks for your billionaire donors.
So 90% of
So
Americans.
they can get a
Billionaire class. What's interesting to me, let's think about this for a second. Let's think about who the wealthiest people in America are. Do you think Bill Gates of hell, who is one of the wealthiest billionaires in the country, do you think he's a Republican? Do you think he's a constituent of Mike Lawler's or any Republican for that matter? Of course he's not. Jeff Bezos, do you think he is? I doubt it. Some of them come over to Trump's side, but they're not really Republicans in the true sense of the word. Mark Zuckerberg, do you think he is a Democrat or Republican? He's a Democrat. Did everything he could to censor free speech during the pandemic? Yep. Not a Republican. Elon Musk came over in the 2024. But up until that point, he was a Democrat for the longest time, his whole life. Or at one point, he was calling Trump an idiot on social media at one point. The idea that the billionaires in this country are all conservative Republicans is completely baseless in and of itself. So what the hell is he talking about here, this idiot? For your billionaire friends, Yeah, some billionaires are Republicans, but the vast majority of them, again, look who owns Google. Sergey Brin and Larry Page, you think they're Republicans? Who's the one that owns Netflix that's pushing the LGBTQXYZWTUV crap? I forget his name. I try to forget who these people are, to be honest with you. Do you think they're Republicans or Democrats? The people that run Hollywood, do you think they're Republicans or Democrats who have massive, massive wealth? I think Bob Iger is a Democrat or Republican. I mean, come on, folks. Who the hell are these people kidding? Think George Soros is a Democrat or Republican, folks? We know what him and his son have thrown their money into. All these different NGOs that have, again, ushered in illegal aliens in the country. They fund a lot of these anti-American groups, BLM, Antifa. It's all there. It's all there. I want to play a little bit more just because I find this extremely hilarious and entertaining.
Permanent extension.
90% of Americans take the standard deduction.
Is that right?
90% of Americans take the standard deduction.
Is that right?
If you had your way, the standard deduction would have been cut in half. That would have been a massive tax increase on Americans all across the country.
You're
you support
here,
that?
Unfortunately,
You're against lifting the cap on salt.
Of your billionaire donors.
The billionaire donors lifting the cap on
correct.
salt. We put a income cap in place.
Why are you here right now?
An income
Where
cap.
the rest
Well,
of
didn't you
your
want all
Republican
Republicans
colleagues?
to be here?
Where
I'm
the
here.
Where are the rest of your Republican
You wanted
colleagues?
Republicans to be here. I'm here.
Why are you
And
here?
by the way,
What?
you can pass an ACA extension right now. Sign
your
on to this
boss-
bill.
Did your boss
Sign
Donald
on
Trump-
to the bill.
Is your boss Donald Trump behind that?
HR 5145. Why don't you get on it?
Mike, is your boss Donald Trump behind that?
Why won't you get on it?
Because you don't work for the American people.
Oh, I do. I
You
work
don't
for,
work for
the people of New
the
York. I
Congressional
work for the
District.
people of my district.
Is that why you? Is that
I'm
why
here.
You got 140.
And by the way, I voted for a clean CR to keep the government open and funded. You voted to shut it
You're
down.
embarrassing yourself right
Yeah.
now.
So Hakeem Jeffries is a loser, as you can easily tell. He has really nothing of any substance. He doesn't really answer anything that Lawler is addressing to him. And again, he's pontificating on this fact that, you're just backed by billionaires, even though it's really the Democrats who obviously have more cash available to them. And their, priorities, of course. So it's, again, the idea that the Democrat Party today in America is the party of the poor. No, they're the party that creates the poor. They're the party that has created it. Never forget, by the way, from 1965 to 1995, 1955, I misspoke. Democrats have controlled the legislation in the country for 40 straight years. From LBJ all the way till good old Billy Clinton. Yep. We had a Democrat majority running all the bills in this country. Never forget that. Yeah, Republicans get some things here and there. But you always had Democrats giving and taking what they wanted. And has the wealth of this country increased for the American or decreased for the American since then? The value of the dollar certainly has gone down. The demographics of the country have definitely changed. The gap between rich and poor has certainly changed in this country. Our rights, many of them taken away. It's becoming more and more difficult for younger people to buy homes, secure a good paying job. Now we have the looming threat of AI on us. Isn't that wonderful? So, you hear these things, we're the party for the poor. No, you're not. You're the party of the rich, the wealthy, and those that take power. That's all you are. You have consolidated power since 1965. You'll continue to do so every year that you're in power. Even when you're not in power, you're trying to get more power by shutting the government down now to get more money for illegal aliens. They are the party of illegal aliens and the uber wealthy, by the way. Just thought I'd share that part with you as well. So, disgraceful Hakeem Jeffries. Who knows when this is going to open back up? Really and truly, who knows when it's going to open back up? Oh, by the way, Hakeem, take a listen to this one. This is in the ZeroHedge. Take a listen to this. Now, stay with me on this. California, I don't believe is a deep blue state, to be honest with you. But it is certainly run as a deep blue state by those in power, whom have supermajorities, whom have every single executive position in the state, White Office. They've had U.S. senators since 1991, both of them. So this is who's representing us on a federal level and, of course, a state level. And now Gavin Newsom, of course, wants to take 5 more seats because they don't have enough through their gerrymandering. But here it says, struggling California Central Valley residents line up for groceries amid California's cost of living crisis. Who created this? Republicans or Democrats? Now, I'm getting so sick of this nonsense that the Democrats are the party of the people. It's a bunch of crap. But here it says, Vicente, a man in his early 70s, arrives at a Fresno mission at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, and by 7 a.m. on a Wednesday, he's the first one in a long line that snakes around through the parking lot, onto the sidewalk, and around the block. Why is he doing this? Well, because he can't afford basic food at a regular grocery store. That's a problem. He's there lining up because he can get around $250 worth of groceries for free that are donated. Vicente says he takes little naps, and he says that he's a cabinet maker. He runs his own shop, but work has been slow, and he has a mortgage and 2 cars to maintain. Obviously, 2 cars. You have 2 insurance policies. You have home insurance. Hopefully he's got it. God knows he has to run his business, too. He's got to pay for all that. So unlike a traditional food bank, he can pick and choose whatever he wants, including fresh meat, eggs, local produce. Obviously, Central Valley is very, very big in the produce section. It's worth billions upon billions of dollars. And he would normally get most of this at a supermarket. But they've actually come outside. This is the co-executive officer of the Central California Food Bank. Says every single month they feed 320,000 different individuals just in the Central Valley. That is a lot of people, folks, that are coming to get food for free simply because they can't afford it elsewhere. Now, look at this. You have a man who it runs his own entrepreneurial business, has to wait in line for 8-9 hours just so he can get in there and get free food. He's a businessman, this guy. Again, because the economy is down in the state of California, thanks to Gavin Newsom and company, he's got to now stand in line for free food because the cost of food has gone up in the country. The article goes on to say, now California, where, runaway living costs have given the state the distinction of having the world's 4th largest economy, as Gavin Newsom loves to tout, also has the nation's highest poverty rates. And, of course, the highest cost of living, as I said to you before. You can go back and listen to my Green Show on all the things that Gavin Newsom has done to destroy the state. But the vast majority of people who camp out are not homeless. Many are homeowners, others rent, others live in subsidized housing, but most food bank clients in the region have at least one working person in their household, and they simply cannot make ends meet. All of them finding it increasingly impossible to, stretch a fixed income, a pension with things such as gas, groceries, housing, mortgage, utility costs skyrocketing, and they can't make ends meet. And this is why they have to come and do all this. They have to wait in line for free food. Now, among Californians, this is what the article goes on to say, among Californians' low-income adults, 45% say they cannot afford any food, according to a UCLA study. It's awful. Absolutely awful. Yep. Wait, what else can I say about this? It's more difficult now in California to make ends meet because simply Gavin Newsom, the Democrats, have made the state absolutely unaffordable. That's what it's come down to. That's exactly what it's coming down to. The prices aren't going down, they're only going up. And it really goes to show you that the once thriving example of the exemplar of a middle class is now becoming the state's poverty state. It's becoming a welfare state. It's becoming a failed state, folks. And it's what, $72 billion in the hole by the time Gavin Newsom leaves? That's the estimate? It's appalling to me. Absolutely appalling. Folks, hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you will share with some friends. Hope you'll get the information out. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you tomorrow on the next Marco Dre Show. Until then, be good, stay busy. God bless each and every one of you. Take care.